Call this meeting to order. This is the Livingston Parish Council meeting. Tonight is it's June 13th. It's about a little after 6:30. All right, invocation. We have Mr. Dwayne Mash is going to do the invocation tonight for us.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Please bow your head. Gracious Father, we thank you for this beautiful day, our freedom, and all the many blessings you give to us. Lord, we thank you for those who serve our parish and our community, and ask that you work through them so that your will may be done. Be with this council, Lord, in all the decisions they make tonight, and all other times that they must make decisions that affect us all. Lord, we ask that you keep us all safe as we leave tonight, and be with those who work to protect us, Lord, including our military and all first responders. Be with those, Lord, who are lost and afraid, as well as those who are experiencing pain and suffering. Lord, we ask for peace in our community, our state, our nation, and ask for your blessings and guidance for those involved in keeping this a peaceful nation. Help us to work in unison in all that we do, Lord. I ask all these things through your precious Son, our Lord Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. All right, I'll ask Mr. Bubba Harris to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Okay, I'd ask now if you have a cell phone that you silence that so that it doesn't disturb the meeting if it goes off. Public input, if anybody wishes to, we're gonna get that. Public input, if anybody wishes to address any agenda item, as that agenda item comes up, you just simply raise your hand and then we'll call upon you and you'll have equal opportunity to come to the podium and state your case and discuss your issue. All right, roll call. I have a problem with skipping the roll call every meeting, but I skipped it again, so let's do the roll call, please.
Mr. Lovell.
Here.
Mr. Averitt.
Here.
Mr. Harris.
Here.
Mr. Girlinghouse.
Here.
Mr. Ard.
Here.
Mr. King.
Here.
Mr. Wascom.
Here.
Mr. Talbert.
Here.
Mr. Mack.
Here. All right. All right, presentations. We don't have any presentations tonight, but we do like to recognize elected officials when they visit the council chambers. And tonight I'd like to recognize Mr. Buddy Mincy Jr. He is currently the Livingston Parish School Board President, and he is a candidate in the state representative race running in District 71. Thanks for coming, Mr. Buddy. Appreciate you, buddy. That was a double buddy.
Sound like a candy bar.
So anyway, Acadian Ambulance. We have agenda item number 8, Acadian Ambulance. We have Mr. Dwayne Mesh here, Community and Government Relations for Acadian Ambulance.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Tonight I come before you. It's an annual process. As you all probably know by now, every year we come before you, number one, for a permit. That's to continue to operate. We have requirements in your ordinance where those operating within the parish supply you with various documentation, making sure the ambulances are safe, making sure that they've been inspected by the state. The Livingston OEP also inspects those, inspects our personnel, and we supply the parish with all the credentials for our people to make sure that, you know, you guys are, or the people in the parish are being treated by people who truly have CPR training and all the other credentials that they should. So earlier I submitted that to Miss Angie, and we just asked that you guys allow us or give us a permit to operate for another full year.
All right. Is there any discussion from the audience on this particular topic? All right. Is there a motion on the floor to pass a resolution to grant this annual permit renewal for a period of July 2019 to June 2020. We have a motion by Jeff Averett and a second by Mr. Bubba Harris. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? No. All right.
Thank you. And second, on our annual membership, we also come before you every year to ask your permission to conduct our annual membership. In that packet, I also included some information about the membership. It's just kind of a general guideline, but if you have any constituents that call on you and they have questions about our membership campaign, what the membership covers or whatever, we ask that you ask them to call Acadian Ambulance. We'll be happy to explain those to them. It's truly a benefit for the elderly within our parish, excuse me, especially those who are of Medicare age, because with the membership, it affords the ability to use the ambulance, and as long as it's a covered service by Medicare, the co-pay is waived, just from the cost of the membership, and that includes husband, wife, and children at home.
All right. Is there any discussion from the audience on this? No? Do we have a motion on the floor to authorize this annual membership drive?
Yeah, I'll make that motion.
We have a motion by Mr. Scooter Keene, a second by Tracy Gerlinghouse. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? No? All right.
Mr. Chairman, if I could, I'm gonna get a couple of our staff to stand and be
Sure.
recognized. We have our operations manager for Livingston Parish, Justin Cox. We have our community relations supervisor, Josh Creed, and Justin Alamo is our local operations supervisor.
Thank y'all very, very, very much for
Thank
y'all's
you.
service. Appreciate y'all very much.
All right.
Okay, agenda item number 9. This is an ordinance introduction to establish a certified fire prevention bureau for Livingston Parish Fire Protection District Number 5 to perform inspections on behalf of the fire marshal as specified by statute 1563. Mr. Bubba Harris, would you like to talk about that?
No, I wouldn't.
Oh,
This is basically the same
Jeff?
thing we did.
Yeah.
Same thing we done for, District 4,
okay.
so.
Is there anybody from the audience that would like to talk about this particular agenda item? All right, so is there,
Joe.
Sandy, do you want to read that real quick? I apologize for not letting you do that in advance.
Okay, Mr. Joe's not here, but it's basically the same thing we did from before. We received our minutes and everything.
Yeah,
We're
no problem.
good to go.
All right,
This will be, proposed ordinance 19-18. This is an ordinance to create the Livingston Parish Fire Protection District Number 5 Fire Prevention Bureau by adding section 26-178 Fire Prevention Bureau to chapter 26 Fire Prevention and Protection, Article 2, Division 6, by establishing the Bureau's definition, intent, and regulations pursuant to revised statute 401563, in addition to the adoption of the code of the most recent state of Louisiana adopted version of the National Fire Protection Agency Life Safety Code, and as a maintenance code, the state of Louisiana Uniform Fire Prevention Code as defined in revised statute 401578.7. And the public hearing will be on June 27th at 6:30 p.m.
all right. So we asked for discussion from the audience. Is there any discussion from the audience on that? All right. And we have a motion by Mr. Scooter Keene, and we have a second by Mr. Bubba Harris to introduce this ordinance. Call for the vote on this one.
Mr. Lidell.
Yes.
Mr. Averett.
Yes.
Mr. Harris.
Yes.
Mr. Erlinghouse.
Yes.
Mr. Ord.
Yes.
Mr. King.
Yes.
Mr. Loscom.
Yes.
Mr. Talbert.
Yes.
Mr. Mack.
Yes. All right, agenda item number 10, this is a public hearing and adoption of LP ordinance number 19-14 to amend chapter 5 disaster emergencies by adding section 5-7 declaration of parish waterway closures. So I will now open the public hearing. Sandy, do you need to read this ordinance?
Yeah, this is shorter. This is proposed ordinance 19-14, an ordinance amending chapter 5 of the Code of Ordinances of Livingston Parish Disaster Emergencies by adding a section entitled Declaration of Parish Waterway Closures, provide for implementation, enforcement penalty for noncompliance, exceptions, and waivers.
All right. We have a motion on the floor by Jeff Averett to adopt this ordinance. is there any discussion from the audience? Any discussion from the council? Is there a second? Oh, we have a second by Tab Lobel, and we need to close the public hearing. All right, so we vote now.
Maybe.
I call for the vote on this one.
Mr. Lobel?
Yes.
Mr. Averett?
Yes.
Mr. Harris?
Yes.
Mr. Girlinghouse?
Yes.
Mr. Ard?
Yes.
Mr. King?
Yes.
Mr. Wassman?
Yes.
Mr. Talbot?
Yes.
Mr. Mack?
Yes. I have so many friends taking care of me. How could I do wrong? Huh?
We do it together, man.
Okay, so, agenda item number 11, public hearing and adoption of LP ordinance number 19-15 to amend chapter 13, planning and development, article 5, flood damage prevention, division 3. So I will now open the public hearing and ask Ms. Sandy to read the ordinance.
This is proposed ordinance nineteen 15, an ordinance to amend chapter 13, plan and development, article 5, flood damage prevention, division 3, provisions for flood hazard reduction, section 13-102, specific standards of the code of ordinances and for the parish of Livingston.
All right. So is there any discussion from the council on this?
I'll go ahead and make a motion that we introduce, call for the public hearing.
Well, it's to, we already did the introduction, this is to adopt the ordinance here.
So this will be to adopt.
Yeah.
And someone had mentioned earlier that we might want to make some changes. I know Mark asked that we do this 1 foot freeboard. And I think we should move forward with it for now. And then if we do decide that there is a benefit to the people in this parish and to the insurance cost premiums that people will pay to go up another 6 inches and then round it up to 2, then we could look at that. But it's still gonna be a hard impact, because now we're gonna require people to build up even higher than base flood elevation. But that's gonna get us back into the CRS system, so people can start getting lower insurance rates. And right now the parish got kicked out of it, so this will put us back in, get us going back in. Mark Harrell's working hard on that. So I'd say we go ahead and adopt this ordinance, and then let's look at it maybe a little later. If we need to raise that up a little bit, we can in the future. But we can use this to determine the cost it's gonna cost us, the hardship on people versus the savings we're gonna get from insurance premiums. So if y'all good with that, I'll make the motion that we adopt this ordinance.
As is without amending it, okay? So, do we wanna ask for discussion from the audience
You
first?
did already, didn't you?
No.
No. Okay, so, no, we gotta ask them first.
Yeah.
Hey, is there any discussion from the audience on this particular agenda item? What this is gonna do is this is gonna require, future, residential structures in Livingston Parish, currently in, flood zone A and AE, to, build their, slab, 1 foot above base flood elevation. You know, where currently the requirement is at base flood elevation, you will now be required to build 1 foot above base flood elevation.
And that'll give us,
This is a good thing, I
for
feel.
CRS rating, insurance costs, that's why Denham Springs is an 8, Walker's an 8, we were a 9, and now we're out. So this will put us, hopefully get us back in compliance with CRS insurance.
Okay, is there any discussion from the,
Yeah,
council?
so, yeah, I got a couple questions. So when Mark came and spoke to the ordinance committee,
Uh-huh.
didn't he discuss that it may need to be 2 or even 3 feet above in the future? Okay, he did.
He mentioned
Okay,
it.
and then we had Gary O'Neill, I believe it was, that came to a special meeting that you had called, that told us that for each foot above BFE, that your flood insurance rates come down. Isn't that correct?
Right.
Okay, so by doing it 1 foot, they may get a little bit of break. If we made it 2 feet, or even 3 feet, whatever we would decide on, there would definitely be a cost benefit to the people who have to buy flood insurance.
Maybe.
And they have to buy flood insurance unless they're not financing it.
They could,
They
without
could.
being required.
They can, but the parish CRS rating is gonna be what the CRS rating is. I guess, I got a call today, there was a group that went to, there's these conferences on different things. There was a group that went to a conference, earlier in the week, and one of the guys called me and said that they learned that representation made at the deal that if you go 18 inches, CRS rounds you up to 2 feet. So you could actually set your base flood at 18 inches. You know, your freeboard at 18 inches above base flood. And then on the CRS system, get a credit as being a 2 foot. And it's happened in other areas where they were trying to maximize their discount for their constituents without putting much hardship on them. And so, you know, when he told me that, we talked about, you know, AE versus X versus A, and if you look, X is touching, everywhere there's an X, there's an AE or A touching it, you know, and so they're just,
They could change it any day.
they're concerned that people that live in X currently have a false sense of security of where they're at because of a map that could be changed, you know, overnight with and we've got a revisit coming to us. You know, the map that we're using now was a map that was made post-Katrina, but not adopted until 2012. So we're looking at a map that was originally made well more than 10 years ago, but is approaching its 10-year lifespan, which is gonna call for a remap. I think that we need to at least inform people that just because you don't live in A and AE doesn't mean that if you build at base flood, you're good forever. And that maybe we could consider that a 6-inch increase. You know, we all got the little brochures and the handouts that talked about the discounts, you know, what everything gave you points and how the points did. There's a pretty substantial, you know, to go from a 1 foot freeboard to a 2 foot freeboard, there's a pretty substantial points increase in that thing. And it's just a consideration that for 6 more, while we're doing this, and 6 more inches, that we gain a whole, you know, another foot credit with the community rating system. Not to mention, from an engineering point of view, you're out, if we go to 1 foot freeboard and people start engineering subdivisions based on 1 foot of freeboard, and then we come back later and adjust it, then we're requiring people to come in and pile more dirt inside a subdivision that didn't get engineered with that additional dirt. So I'm just wondering if we're not better off to get it done right the first time. And then if the map comes out and that, you know, when a new map comes out, if X remains the same or X shrinks, then we can revisit the ordinance and maybe move X back out. But we're looking at a situation, I've heard numbers as much as 80% of X flooded in 2016. I can't say that's a fact, but I think there was a substantial amount of people living in flood zone X that took on water in 2016. So, you know, given what we know and what we've seen happen within the parish, it might be to our benefit to visit or consider, you know, an increase of 6 inches and gaining a deal. And then we might want to consider whether do we really want to exempt X? Do we really want to make people in X not have to build above base flood? Or are we giving them a false sense of security, knowing what we've seen happen in 2016 and what we know is coming down the pike in another year or two? That's my only concern.
We had people Thursday that were in X that got water in their
Yeah.
house from a local rain event.
I understand. And
So,
so we know that the maps are gonna change.
Yeah.
It's pretty obvious that's gonna happen. Chad, you have any comment on that, knowing what you know with respect to, you know, representing the parish as their engineer?
Should've called Morgan up there, she likes to come to podium.
You know, I mean, I think anything you guys will do will be a step forward. I mean, you know, going from a base flood to a 1 foot above is definitely, you know, I don't like to take too big of steps at one time, but that's definitely a step in the right direction. Getting caught up with, you know, someone like the Denhams in the city of Walkers where they already have it set. The CRS rating is very important. I think y'all need to keep that as low as you can. Right now, you're back at a 10, you were at a 9. So those steps are all good for the ultimate goal. I mean, maybe the extra cost to get that 1 foot or the 18 inches a little bit on the front end, but you know, in the long run, they'll probably save on the
And you
premiums.
only pay that once,
Right.
yeah.
But I mean, yeah, these storms are very tricky, like the flash floods that we had. You can't, you gotta be careful. When those maps are developed with the AE and the A, it's a different kind of rainstorm they consider when they model those things. It's not the same as that flash flood that's only in a concentrated area. So it gets very complicated with it, but I don't want to get into the middle of all that, but, and, you know, that rain was probably a 100-year storm, which is what the AE is developed off of. It's a 100-year storm that's developed in those shaded areas.
Yeah.
But yeah, the maps can change right now. You know, those maps were actually done in 2008, 2012. They just incorporated LiDAR to tighten it up a little bit. They didn't go back and restudy the stream. So, you know, they need to fix all that and get that thing remodeled. That way it'll be a better picture of the whole situation.
So given the 10-year, you know, FEMA requirement on remap, what are we looking at? Are we looking at it based on the 2008? Are we looking at it based on 2012? What's coming at us in the future?
I know they've been having it programmed, like Livingston Parish is supposed to be one of the next ones to get remapped. It's a good chunk of money to do it. But what happened is when they did the 2012 update, they didn't go back out and survey the streams and the creeks and redo cross sections, which is what you need to do at the same time as the LiDAR. They just corrected the map with LiDAR to get the contours a little bit tighter. But at the same time, they should have done cross sections at the creeks, and they didn't have money to do it, so they just did. And this was a nationwide thing they did with the LiDAR, because they had the information. They wanted to go ahead and tighten it up. And even at the time, you know, our firm in Alvin Fairburn kind of fought that a little bit to kind of get some of those corrections to make sure they just weren't shifting lines and shifting, you know, flood elevation. So, but in order to do it right, they need to get ground surface information, the LiDAR, combine all that together and model it. And, you know, I'm not sure how much that ticket is, but I know Congressman Graves and some of these other guys are trying to get that, you know, shoved up, you know, in the thing to get it redone, because it's very important to have the right information and accurate information, because like you said, Zone X people were flooding. And some of that could just be where the storm was at, you know, where the location of the concentration of the storm was at, not, you know, anyway.
Right.
It's a lot of different factors, but it probably, the maps would help get the, you know, clarify some, or just, I mean, we've got technology now that's much more fine-tuned than what it used to be. It used to be on 5-foot contours. Now the LiDAR gets us down to a 1 or 2-foot contour. So as things keep improving, we can get the risk factor to let the people know that they're, you know, hey, I may be in a Zone X, but you might really be in an A or AE now that we can fine-tune it. So anyway, the whole difference between the A and the AE is the AE, they actually modeled and did cross-sections on the creek. The A, they just did some other preliminary things from a map and didn't actually get in the field and do it. So there's differences between it. The AE, you actually know the water surface elevations in the creeks, and the A, you don't. You have to get it from the Corps engineer. So those are the two differences between those.
So what about X that's bordering all these, you know, A and AEs? How impactful is this, you know? I mean, we're gonna exempt them from the freeboard. Is it giving people a false sense of security, or?
Yeah, I mean, these, even the Zone X has risk factors, and I think you're right. I mean, there is a false sense of security, but at the same point, there's a ridge line, there's a break line from where that 100-year storm floods or not. So, I mean, heck, you might be at a higher elevation, and just because that's cut off is where that ridge line is, and that's where the water falls. When you model it, there's a certain area that floods, and that's the AE and the A zones. The rest of it's X because you're above that.
Right. I mean, X is gonna border A and AE unless AE covers the whole parish.
Right.
Yeah.
And but substantially, most of the parish is A and AE. I don't know if y'all have ever zoomed out on these maps, on these flood maps.
Oh, it's got a little spot of X.
Yeah, it's got some X, it's got
Yeah.
slivers of X in the,
Right.
in the,
Yeah.
you know, in the parish,
A
so,
little, yeah.
yeah, it's not much, but in the whole scheme of
Okay,
things.
Might be naive, but I think, I hate to do just tell people that, hey, they've gotta do it, you know.
Right.
I gotta
Definitely not
think
for that.
somebody can still think for themselves.
Okay,
Right.
I mean, I just want us to make that decision.
We're trying to
I
get
just
back
wanna-
in that CRS
But we can still
we
get
can't.
in, we can
Oh,
get
I
back
get,
in that.
yeah,
zone.
I get
agree.
it,
I
without
just-
doing the X, yeah.
I just wanna make sure that the people are informed,
Oh,
and
yeah,
don't have a
yeah.
false sense of security that I'm in X and I don't have to build above base flood because I'm safe. I think it's important that they're aware that, you know, just because you're in X doesn't mean you're in a situation that you don't need to worry about what elevation you're
Well, we
putting
have
your home.
seen there's not a whole lot that you don't need to worry about nowadays when it comes to water.
I'm an AE and had never flooded until 2016,
Yeah.
and we flooded.
I think August 2016 was an exception.
Oh, it
Maybe-
absolutely was, yeah.
Maybe we should figure and calculate
But is
that
it the
on
new
other
exception?
floods
That's what we're
outside
worried about.
2016.
I'm worried about whether it's the new exception, and that's what changes things. The world changed, and if it is not an exception and it's gonna happen again in the future, we need to be prepared, let people know, if you should build to this, you can buy flood insurance very cheaply if you build above that BFE, no matter where you are.
Yeah. If you build an
Okay.
AE, I can tell you it's not cheap.
Not, if it's above BFE, it is.
Cheaper.
Cheaper, it's not cheap, yeah, right.
Cheaper.
But you know, there's also, guys, there's also ways to prevent flooding other than making people build way, way, way above base flood elevation. I mean, there's drainage improvement projects, you know, there's just a lot of different ways that we can
If you're a real
help
flood, that don't
reduce
help.
flooding other than
You can do all
raise the
drainage
base
once,
flood
right?
elevation.
Yeah.
You know,
Alright.
2016 is a little bit different. But anyway, so we have a motion on the floor by John Wascom to adopt this ordinance as is.
You got a
Is there
second?
any more discussion from the audience from anybody else? All right.
Do we know when the map,
Do we-
the new, remapping is due?
That's what we're trying to figure out, that's what.
There's no set
we don't-
date.
We don't have a date, they're trying to find funding for it right now. Not us, the federal government.
Yeah.
I, before I included X, I would like to know, I would certainly would like to be at 18 to get the credit for 24. But I would like to look at the map beforehand, but I think to do nothing is nothing, so I'll second John's motion.
For 1 foot.
And we can come back later,
Yeah,
once we
I-
talk to Mark, if y'all, and 18 might be, like, I like the
Yeah,
idea
I
of
mean,
rounding
I
up.
like Chad's,
But, I mean,
Chad's
small
idea.
steps first.
Small steps first.
Before
Yeah,
you
I
put
just
this on.
wanted to put it out there,
Yeah,
let
and
people,
look, it-
make
it-
people
it-
aware that.
Okay, so now we're gonna close the public hearing. All right, so we talked a lot about it. I think everybody's made up their mind.
Constructive
Yes,
talks.
yes,
That's right.
Yes, I'm
Yeah.
not mad at
It's
anybody.
amazing.
We're just
No
kidding.
argument.
Just kidding. Okay, so for real, I call for the vote on this one.
Mr. Lovell?
Yes.
Mr. Avery?
Yes.
Mr. Harris?
Yes.
Mr. Garlinghouse?
Yes.
Mr. Ard?
Yes.
Mr. King?
Yes.
Mr. Wascom?
Yes.
Mr. Talbert?
Yes.
Mr. Matt?
Yes. Okay, ladies and gentlemen,
I gotta say, Mr. Wiseman, if you would have voted no on that,
Was that threatening physical violence?
Well, that's why, I'm still surprised he voted.
Hey, as we was trying to figure out what I was gonna vote for, he voted.
agenda item number 12, public hearing and adoption of LP ordinance, number 19-16, to enact the code of, general ordinances of the parish of Livingston, Louisiana, as published by Municipal Code Corporation, to include adoptions through March 28th, 2019. Okay, so, I think everybody knows what this is, oh, we gotta open the public hearing. Okay, Sandy, do you wanna read the ordinance? Okay, rock on with it.
This is an ordinance adopting and enacting a new code for the code of ordinances of the parish of Livingston, Louisiana, providing for the repeal of certain ordinances not included therein, providing the penalty for the violation thereof, providing for the manner of amending such code, and providing when such code and this ordinance shall become effective.
All right. So, what this particular ordinance is about here is, we realized early on that, it was kind of difficult to really read and comprehend some of the ordinances we had, because you had some of it over here in this section, and some of it over here in this section, and we still had a lot of terminology in there from the old school about wards and police juries and all this type of stuff, so we made, well, through Sandy's great effort, we went through recodification, and what we're gonna do is, this is gonna be, I guess you could say reworded such that it's easier, and you'll be able to find what you're looking for, your particular issue, faster, and it's just gonna be a good thing, and, appreciate all of y'all's hard work to make all of this happen. And, Sandy, we thank you for your hard work. And, so if any, I opened the public hearing, is there any discussion from the audience about this particular agenda item?
I just
All
have
right,
a
don't
simple
forget to state who
question.
you are.
Shannon Sloan, 9943 West Summerfield in Denham Springs.
Mhm.
Just a question. I mean, it was difficult to read, and I've asked Sandy about it before, and she told me all the work she's been doing, so thank you for that, because it's gonna be a lot easier. But I noticed it hadn't been done since 2014. So what is the plan in the future? How often will this be done? How often will they be updated?
I guess what your question is as we pass ordinances and we change laws, when will it be updated on the website?
Right, is it gonna be another
Okay.
5 years, I mean,
No,
or is
ma'am.
it gonna be on a
From
regular
what-
basis?
The reason it took so long is because we were going through that, but, to the best of my knowledge, but anyway, it's gonna be about 6 months, and then it'll be placed where it needs to go. The ordinance will be, the wording of the ordinance will be placed where it needs to go. But in addition to that, there's a little section, on the website, you know, that you'll be able to go to and know, and see the ones that, haven't been actually updated, but are there so that you can know what's coming.
Okay.
So, it's gonna be a good thing for everybody.
Thank you.
We're hoping
I
that
think
we're
so,
able to.
too.
It's my understanding that some of these laws were on the books just for years in the past. For instance, if you came into the parish and you had pigs, you're supposed to go straight to the sheriff's office and have them marked before you could go on to the rest of the parish. There was a law on the books like that just had to be done away with. And so she found that, and there was other things that they found. There was one of them that a lady, if you worked serving drinks at I don't know, some kind of, a bar, that they had to call them bee ladies or something, or something like that. So these old laws that just stayed on the books, and they need to be cleared up. You know, it seems like elected officials always bringing in more laws, but we never take out any, and I'm just glad we took some old laws out. And, I think that's cleaning it up, so thank you, Sandy.
Plus, it does really organize it, like, the city of Walker uses Municode, I'm just.
Get 'em
Does
to-
it too?
Most of it.
I mean, everything's organized, you can go right to it, and the way that we did it there was every now and then, like when you sat down, you got your packet. We had a book, they would hand us the perforated pages with things telling you where to put it in the book, so you could update your own book. You know, and it, you know, each council member had theirs, so it was
We got
very,
people for that.
a lot simplifies the process for all of us and for the public as well, so I mean,
I think it
it's
was
definitely a
thing.
good
Good
thing.
thing.
All right.
Motion to-
So if there's no more discussion from the audience, we're now gonna close the public hearing. Took me 3 times, but I got it right this time. Okay, so, we have a motion by Tab Lobel to adopt this, ordinance. We have a second by Jeff Ard to adopt this ordinance. All right, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right. We got another one. Public hearing and adoption of LP ordinance number 19-17, sale of surplus property, equipment, supplies, and materials. All right, I will now open the public hearing. Sandy, will you read the ordinance?
Yes, sir. This is an ordinance to declare certain surplus property, equipment, supplies, materials no longer needed for public purposes, provide for its sale by internet sales and/or public auction, and provide for the terms of sale. Did we have an amendment?
All right. So is there any, discussion from the audience on this particular agenda item? No?
Just notice that since the introduction, they've added a trailer.
Yeah.
It was introduced without a trailer, and they've added a trailer, it needs to be noted.
They're in a boat trailer.
boat
So
trailer.
just know that if anybody wants to make a motion, they need to make it as amended. We need to
Make it.
amend it first?
I'll make a motion to amend.
I'll second.
Okay, so we have a motion by Jeff Averett to amend this ordinance. We have a second by Tracy Girlinghouse.
Close the public hearing.
I guess we need to close the public hearing before we vote. Is there any discussion from the audience on this? No? All right. All in favor to amend this ordinance? Aye. Any opposed? No?
Close the hearing.
Okay. So, do we have a motion on the floor to adopt this ordinance
You have to read it.
as amended?
I just read it.
Tab Lobel makes the motion to adopt this ordinance as amended. Is there a second? Jeff Ard seconds the motion. All right, all in favor? Any opposed? No? Okay, agenda item number 14, adoption of the minutes. May the 2nd, 2019, special meeting of the council.
I'll make that motion.
We have a motion on the floor by Tracy Gerlinghouse to adopt those minutes. We have a second by Mr. Bubba Harris. Any discussion from the audience about those minutes? No? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? No. Agenda item 14B, adopt the minutes from the May 23rd, 2019 regular meeting of the council. Got a motion by Jeff Ard, got a second by Jeff Avery. Any discussion from the audience? No? All right, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Nope. All right. Agenda item 15, the parish president's report. No, is there a report? No report? All right, no report. All right, planning and agenda item 16, planning and development.
Miss Natalie.
Miss Natalie is at the podium to help us get through this. All right.
You help me, I'll help you.
All right, so, 16A, Curtis Code, accept roads and improvements into the maintenance system. Can we do the release of the, maintenance bonds at the same time, on the same motion? Mr. Al? We can?
Yeah.
If nobody objects, that we do that? Okay, is there any discussion from the audience on this particular agenda item? No?
Y'all recommend
Yes, sir.
accept them and release the bonds, I'll make a motion.
Okay, so we have a motion by Mr.
Wasp.
Wasco.
So,
We have a second by Mr. Scooter.
we're getting off too long.
Can't
Can't do this no more.
Anyway, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Agenda item 17, planning and commission recommendations. 17A. McFay Whitley, servitude revocation. This is an introduction of an ordinance. Sandy, do you need to read this ordinance?
Yep, and we do have everything. Y'all have all y'all's letters, we have
We
a
do.
physical map.
Yes, ma'am.
Everything in place. This will be proposed ordinance 19-19. This is an ordinance that follows to it, revoking the dedication, abandoning, and quitclaiming in favor of McFay Whitley, Vanessa Whitley, Passion, Mary Whitley Moss, and Pearlie Whitley, Shropshire. Portion of a 40-foot all-purpose servitude identified by the crosshatch portion as shown on the preliminary map showing the survey of revocation of portion of a 40-foot all-purpose servitude across tracks C1A, C2A, and C3A located section 52, township 5, section range 2E, Greensburg Land District, Livingston Parish, Louisiana by Brett J. Martin, professional land surveyor, dated May 7, 2019, and the public hearing will be at 6:30 on June the 27th.
I'll make a motion.
Okay, we have a motion by Mr. Gary Talbert, to introduce this ordinance. We have a second by Mr. Bubba Harris. Is there any discussion from the audience about this servitude revocation? No? All right. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? No? Good. Okay, we have 17B, Cheryl Attrapoint, servitude revocation. This is also an introduction of ordinance. Sandy, do you want to read this one?
So, this is an ordinance as follows to wit, revoking the dedication, abandoning, quitclaiming in favor of Cheryl Lewis Otterpoint and Jimmy R. Lewis, a 30-foot all-purpose servitude identified by the crosshatch portion as shown on the preliminary map, showing the revocation of a 30-foot all-purpose servitude across the 2-acre tract lot B and lot 1 located in section 7, township 9, section range 6E, Greensburg Land District, Livingston Parish, Louisiana, by Brett J. Martin, professional land surveyor, dated May the 6th, 2019. This public hearing will be on June 27th at 6:30 p.m.
All right. Is there any discussion from the audience on this particular agenda item? Any from the council? All right. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Agenda item 17C. This is,
Did we make a motion in a second? I missed it.
yeah,
It was Gary,
Gary Frog Talbert
wasn't it
and
Gary?
Bubba Harris. Yeah.
That's close enough.
That's good.
Yeah.
Do it again.
My bad. Okay, so, are we ready to go to 17C?
Yes, sir.
All right. So, Juban Retail Center, preliminary site plan. All right, so, does anybody have any information on this particular agenda item?
It's just a retail center.
Well, I mean, was it recommended that it pass?
Oh, yes, it was
recommended
recommended
that it
to
pass?
approve.
It's, in District number 5. Oh,
That's what I'm asking, where you look
Well,
Okay.
it's right behind the Dollar General at the 29,000 block of Juban Road.
Okay,
You know where that is?
yeah.
It's
Yeah, he
behind,
knows
it's
where that-
behind, it's behind.
He
that.
knows where that is,
Dollar General flooded.
Thursday, early.
It's down about,
Almost.
yeah.
all right, we have a motion on the floor to accept this preliminary plat by Mr. Bubba Harris, second by Jeff Ard. Any discussion from the audience? All in favor? Any opposed?
So what you were showing on that map, that little corner, it must be where Dollar General is, on ten?
Yeah, that section
And
you see
this
right,
runs behind it,
right,
okay,
it runs beside it.
Beside and behind.
Beside it.
okay.
Okay, agenda item 17D, Plainview Shadows. This is a preliminary plat. This is in Council District 2. Mr. Talbert, do you have anything you would like to add about this particular agenda item?
Oh, no, I'd like to make a motion to approve.
We have a,
says contingent on name change being
Yes.
approved.
I was trying to find it.
And that has been approved.
Area
Okay, here you go.
cleared.
It was approved by the planning commission, like Jeff said, contingent on the name change being approved.
This
It was
behind
approved by-
And
Plainview?
it is approved. It's
It's
changed
across the
to,
street from your Plainview. You know where your deal is, where they, remember where they subbed them?
On Kmart, yeah,
Where they- where they-
Kmart,
No,
1024,
Funstock Road.
Hunstock Road.
Okay, where they put the, where they put the big
On the back?
estate lots on
Yeah, big nice
Funstock?
one.
Across the street from that.
Oh, okay, okay, all right.
We
Oh,
good?
yeah, 'cause that's the
So
line.
we had a
So
motion
we'll
by-
put it in yours.
By
Yeah.
Gary to accept.
All right.
Who was the second? Jeff Averett did the
What
second.
was the name change on that?
okay,
Well, that's
so
what
it was, changed from Plainview Shadows to Tenor Cove.
Tender
Thanks.
Cove. We'll be able to hear him from your house.
All right. So all in favor to accept this preliminary plat? Any opposed? Agenda item 17E. This is former Camp Singing Water, preliminary site plan. LA Highway 190. This is Council District
Jeff R.
1, Mr. Jeff.
You go that far?
I think they're just basically getting this in the books.
Shown,
more or less,
right,
just
shown
showing
on
what they have
paper,
there.
what's commercial, what's residential.
Right,
Mhm.
Yeah.
I mean, they're not changing anything, nothing, they're just,
Or constructing anything.
yeah, just making sure they have it all filed and what they have there.
Good.
So I'll make a motion to accept.
All right, we have a motion on the floor by Jeff R. to accept this preliminary site plan.
A second.
Is there a second by Mr. John Wascom? Is there any discussion from the audience? All right, all in favor? Any opposed? Okay, 17F, that's US Fire Pump Company LLC, preliminary site plan on James Chapel Road. This is Council District 9, this is my district. Yeah, this is gonna be right next to Fiera Fire Apparatus.
Okay.
And it's a good thing, you know, Fiera Fire Apparatus has employed a lot of people and done a lot of great things for Livingston Parish out there. And Mr. Chris Fair, from what I understand, is building this facility. And I asked him a couple of questions the other day, just so that all would know, you know, that are concerned with maybe traffic or whatever. And he said that he anticipates maybe 1 or 2 trucks as far as shipments, you know, in and out of the facility per day. He's planning on operating Monday through Friday, 8 to 5 p.m., you know, and he's planning on employing 50 to 100 people within the first 10 years. So it's a great thing
Nice.
for the area out there, and we consider that, even though it's not zoned, a commercial area out there on James Chapel right there, and, it's a really, really good thing. I highly recommend this. Is there a motion on the floor that we accept this preliminary plat? Mr. Tab Lobel is made the motion, Mr. Jeff Averitt made the second. So is there any discussion from the audience before we vote? Nope. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Nope. Good thing. All right. Agenda item 18, introduction.
Thank you, Natalie.
Thanks Natalie. You're way, way better than Sandy Drumbo.
Oh, man. Oh.
Dude,
Hit a man when he's on vacation, that ain't right.
That was just a joke.
make you not wanna miss a
It
meeting.
was just a joke.
Usually get volunteered for stuff when you miss a meeting.
Okay, 18, introduction of ordinance, sale of surplus property, equipment, supplies, and material. So this is a ordinance introduction. Sandy, would you read that one?
This will be proposed ordinance 19-21. This is an ordinance to declare certain surplus property, equipment, supplies, and materials no longer needed for public purposes, provide for its sale by internet sales and/or public auction, and provide for the terms of the sale. The public hearing will be at 6:30 p.m. on June 27th.
Okay, is there any discussion from the audience on this particular agenda item? Council?
But you wanna bet all these filters fit the F-150 and the Dodge Ram 2500?
I think you might be on to something.
On item 13. I'll make them.
Oh, we got Mr. Huey up here.
I'll ask him,
Question on it.
fire
I'm here to
marshal,
answer any
all those
questions.
filters fit those trucks we're getting rid of?
No. No, that was a bunch of other surplus equipment that we had. We was able to get credit on the parts and things like this. The only thing they wouldn't take back. So that's why we had to go through the sale. Other trucks wore out.
That's good.
Yeah.
So, thank you for that information, Mr. Huey. Is there any more discussion from the audience on this? Any more discussion from the council?
I'll make them.
Is there a motion? Mr. Tracy Gurley-House makes that motion. Mr. Jeff Ards seconds it. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Yep. All right. Okay, agenda item 19, annual appointment of the Livingston Parish Official Journal. This is gonna be from July 1st, 2019 through June the 30th,
I'll make that motion.
2020. We have a motion by Gary Talbert.
I'll second.
We have a second by Mr. Scooter King. Is there any discussion from the audience on this?
Who are you appointing?
Yeah.
Oh,
You're appointing the Livingston Parish News.
Okay, I just didn't make that.
seeing how it says, our paper here says they are the only one that meets the qualifications in Livingston Parish.
Just making sure. I'm sorry.
You're welcome.
I didn't read all of
It was good.
Livingston Parish.
We're appointing the Livingston Parish News to be our official journal during that time frame. And there was a motion, I forgot who made it.
Gary did.
Gary made the motion and Scooter seconded it. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? No. Good. All right. Okay. Adopt a resolution to accept Joni Lane located off of Brandon Avenue into the parish maintenance system. This happens to be in Mr. Bubba Harris's district. This road is, 1,294 feet, currently maintained by the parish, located in District 5. So,
It has been maintained by the parish for many years.
I think it says 17, didn't it?
Yeah.
Was it on the list?
Do I?
Was it on the list?
I don't know, I had a call from Mr. Sam, said it needed to be taken into the parish. It's been maintained.
I guess, my Huey, did y'all inspect those, both, since we got both of those items, did y'all inspect them? Do they meet the current standard of the road?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, that's all I wanted to know.
Yeah.
I think it's one that just hadn't been, it may not have been on the list, it's just been being maintained.
It was
Been
all
skipped.
blacktopped as part of Brandon Road at one time. Then they had a 911 address that came in and wanted it Joni Lane. So they named it Joni Lane.
Oh, okay.
Blacktop didn't do that, so we just need to make it legal.
Yeah, okay.
But they were roads that met the parish standards, so take them
Correct.
in. I mean, we don't have to take them in, even though we've maintained them, as long as they meet the standard, that's
That's
all I
right.
wanted to do. Okay.
All right.
okay, so we have a motion on the floor by Mr. Bubba Harris to accept this adopt this resolution to accept Johnny Lane into the parish maintenance system. This is off of Brandon Avenue. Is there a second on the floor? John Wascom seconds the motion. Is there any discussion from the audience? No? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Good.
You didn't get in the field for us, see if we was gonna say no?
I was thinking we might do that. Anyway, so agenda item 21, adopt a resolution to revise the footage of Brandon Avenue, a road in the parish maintenance system, currently set at 1,830 feet, and 2,012 feet of the road is currently being maintained, located in Council District Number 5, R.C. Bubba Harris. So,
Yeah, it's, I don't know how it got messed up in the future, in the past, but, anyway, I talked to Sam about this and also, and he says, just go ahead and bring it up and see if we can get it passed to change the footage on it.
Okay,
Do
so-
the additional footage meets it?
That additional footage was on the Blue Bank, or Banks and Blue Book road system, and it was more of it. And we're currently doing 2,012 feet of it, so we just wanna get it down back.
Okay, that's fine. I just wanna make sure, I mean, that's all, you know.
Yeah. You don't want me sliding another thing.
No.
I'll make that motion.
okay, so we have a motion on the floor to adopt this resolution to revise the footage of Brandon Road per the wording. All right, so, and that was by Jeff Averett did that, and then a second by Bubba Harris. And is there any more discussion from the audience? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? No. Okay, agenda item 22, Fire Protection District Number 2, Board reappointment. Mr. Tab Lobel.
Got reappoint Mr. Charles Bennett. He's been on there for quite a few years, does a good job, and want to reappoint him.
All right. So we have a motion on the floor to reappoint Mr. Charles Bennett to Fire Protection District Number 2. We got a second by Mr. Jeff Ard. Is there any discussion from the audience? Any from the council? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? No.
So these guys out there do a good job, buddy. They put on a poker run last weekend for, fundraiser.
Fireman Poker, that's all,
Fireman
yeah.
poker run, that was, I think maybe 29th or something annual, and he's been doing it a long time, had 319 hands in it last weekend, just, they do a lot of good work out there.
Yeah, and I don't know what we would have done without those fire protection districts during that flood of 2016. Would have been
Yeah,
bad.
big deal.
Okay, so, District Attorney report, this is agenda item number 23. Is there any report?
Nothing to report.
All right. Agenda item 24, this is committee reports. Do we have anything from the ordinance committee, Mr. Gary?
The ordinance committee met today and received a presentation, just bear for a second, from Mr. John Singleton that lives on Macklin Road, and, about his concern for excessive, unnecessary noise from vehicles. And the council's gonna contact the sheriff and work like we've worked on the, solicitation ordinance and get their input and ask for Mr. Singleton's input some and try to draft something to bring back. We also talked about the solicitation ordinance that we've been working on. We've got some questions that we're gonna get addressed, and hopefully we'll come back in 2 weeks with a more refined document. And we started discussing this Livingston Parish sewer ordinance that was drafted in conjunction with the sewer board and Albert Fairman Associates. We didn't get very far, but it's gonna be an ongoing process. We'll continue to handle other ordinance business first and then talk about this every 2 weeks and continue to hash it out. I'm gonna ask, Ms. White to, email to all the councilmen the ordinance that we printed out tonight, so y'all all have it, you can read it, and you can start making comments on it. There's a highlighted area within it that, you know, Mr. Idell thought were some of the talking points that need to be looked at individually, so we can move forward with that in the future. It'll be something that if we get past, we'll definitely clean up some of the the effluent discharge within this parish, that it's
That's
not
great.
quite meeting the standard, and it's causing some stinky ditches on days, so, that's kind of what we did.
It's good stuff right there.
Mhm.
No, we got the finance committee report.
Oh, you missed it.
Where's he at? He don't have it.
Oh,
Actually, we gotta do something.
We do
out
have
of
to
it.
do something, yeah.
Before that, the finance committee met today. Apparently, the financial numbers are on par for the previous years. Said everything looks good from that standpoint. We also have, make a recommendation to adopt a resolution to accept the completed 2018 compliance questionnaire for the audit engagements of government entities. And this is for the last year period, January 1st, 2018 to December 31st, 2018. So, I would like to make a motion that we accept the audit.
Yeah, I'll make that.
Okay, so we have a motion on the floor by Tracy Gerlinghouse
Oh, can you,
to adopt a resolution to accept the ordinance.
The Louisiana compliance
The,
question.
Yeah, the 2018 compliance questionnaire for audit engagements of government entities. We have a second by Scooter King.
that's good fishing.
Any discussion from the audience? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Nope.
Well,
All right. All right, so, this is the end of the meeting. So we have a motion on the floor to adjourn. Is there a second?
Councilman comments?
Yeah, is there councilman comments?
Yeah, I got one.
Oh, you jumping the gun, Mr. Bubba.
I'd like to thank DPW from Parish Works. I had a safety issue yesterday, had a constituent call in on Draper McMarsh Road. I looked, apparently from all the rain we had last week, road was trying to wash out. Guy sent me a picture at 10 o'clock this morning, it had been fixed. Thank him for that. Good job.
Yep, I
Good
applaud
job.
that too. That's very
Good
good.
job, Department of Public Works. Any more comments from the councilman?
Yeah, I get to brag on a young man from Walker, Mr. Dane Dixon, which he graduated a couple of years ago from Walker High School. He just got first team All-American honors at LSU Eunice as a pitcher in baseball.
Nice, good job, good job.
I have something too.
Oh, Mr. Tracy, go ahead.
I would like everyone to keep the Durbin family in their prayers. Mr. James Durbin was a gentleman I went to school with, me and Jeff we would play ball with, and just a soft-spoken, easygoing, big guy, always had a smile on his face, always was never confrontational, was a good guy. He had a liver transplant last week, and I don't know, something went wrong last night, and he passed away. So I'd like to ask, the council and the community to keep his wife, Kelly Durbin, Kelly Haynes Durbin, we went to school with her as well, she's a good friend. Just keep their family and their girls in their prayers, their children. It's never an easy thing. Just keep them in their prayers, keep the Durbins in their prayers.
Appreciate that.
Yeah. Okay, anybody else wanna have something to say?
I'd like to wish all our fathers happy Father's Day coming up this Sunday, so y'all enjoy
That's
yourself.
good.
Yes, indeed.
And,
Good job.
if you're not a father, you probably an uncle or something else that's a father figure, so do the best you can for these youngins all the time.
Nice job.
And I'd like to second Bubba's motion.
We have a second on the floor by Jeff Hart to adjourn. Is there any discussion from the audience about that? No. All in favor? Any opposed?
If you don't hit the